Who's that? Commander Claw. Who's bad? Commander Claw. If you wanted another way to build Mishra, the Eminent one, this 10-minute Commander Guide is here to give you something outside of the popular powerful artifacts that you can find in so many videos. I'm referring to the Genji's Aether Heart, Ugin's Nexus, Panharmonicon Infinite combos. If you want to learn more about those combos, just type it in the YouTube search. Otherwise, let's continue to go with Mishra, the Eminent one, and vehicles. That's right, vehicles. This 10-minute Commander Guide will be a solid review on vehicles that are worth adding with Mishra. So when you watch this video, keep an open mind on which vehicles could work best with Mishra. It doesn't necessarily mean your Mishra build has to be artifact vehicle tribal, but let's take a moment to read Mishra's, the Eminent one's ability. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a token that's a copy of target non-creature artifact you control, except its name is Mishra's Warform, and it's a 4/4 construct artifact creature, in addition to its other types. It gains haste until end of turn. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Okay, so this list of artifact vehicles will be broken down by converted mana costs. The first set of vehicles cost 2 colorless mana. I'm not going to make you wait for too long, but the best set of artifact vehicles are the 4 CMC and up. And I believe they create such a great amount of value that they're worth adding in any 99 build. In this video, you will also be able to read these cards quickly. So let's get into it. First up is High Speed Hover Bike. For 2 mana, this artifact vehicle has flash and flying. It says when it enters the battlefield, tap up to 1 creature. If you use Mishra's ability, you create a 4/4 Mishra's Warform that has flying, haste, and the ETB trigger to tap 1 target creature. Generally, you will use this to tap a possible blocker. Heart of Kiran. It has flying and vigilance, crew 3, and you may remove a loyalty counter from a planeswalker you control rather than pay the crew costs. Essentially, only the flying and vigilance matter for this. You won't need to crew it using Mishra's ability. Mobilizer Mech. Continue with the low to the ground CMC. You can give your Mishra's Warform flying. The other abilities are irrelevant because they say whenever Mobilizer Mech becomes crewed, up to 1 other target creature vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. Then it has crew 3. If you notice, the 2 CMC vehicles are going to give you the keyword abilities to add to your 4/4 Mishra's Warform creature token. You avoid crew costs because the token created by Mishra is a 4/4 creature with the artifact's ability. 3 CMC vehicles. Now we're starting to get to the good stuff, and it gets only better from here. First up, we have the Mizium Tank. It has trample. Then it reads, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Mizium Tank becomes an artifact creature and gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Mizium Tank has game-ending damage if paired with an infinite combo to cast a non-creature spell. That is pretty easy since you are in Grixis colors. There are several combos. Night Scythe. If you like making tokens, well, let me introduce you to Night Scythe. It has flying and the Invasion Beams ability. It says when Night Scythe enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 Black Necron Warrior artifact creature token. Using Mishra's ability, you can create Mishra's Warform, a 4/4 flyer with haste, and a 2/2 Necron Warrior, giving you the ability to build an army and swing for damage. From there, you can sacrifice fodder to exploit. Raider's Carve. Maybe you had this common card from Kaldheim back in the day from last year, I believe. I never really enjoyed this artifact vehicle for many reasons. However, whenever Raider's Carve attacks, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it into the battlefield tapped. Without Mishra, I thought this card was way too slow, with a heavy crew cost and a trigger that only happens during your attack phase. That's way too slow. But now with Mishra's Warform, you don't have to crew it, and you have the opportunity to drop a land card from the top of your library. Interesting. And you don't have to wait for an attack phase. 4 CMC. Now we're in the best value section for artifact vehicles, and you're probably going to have fun. I'd actually recommend adding 1 or 2 of these 2 for your 99 for Mishra's. Now let's jump into the 4 CMC artifact vehicles. Goliath Truck. This straightforward powerhouse says, whenever Goliath Truck attacks, put 2 +1/+1 counters on another target attacking creature, and crew 2. We're going to disregard the crew ability with Mishra for the rest of this video. But Goliath Truck boosts your power of another attacking creature with 2 +1/+1 counters. That gives you the opportunity to add an Ozolith artifact to your deck to move counters around. This really could go in several other builds. You can find this in the Warhammer 40k set. Horde Hauler. Okay, let's flash back to Streets of New Capenna, and we have the Horde Hauler. You treasure token makers, you're going to love this. It has trample, and it reads, whenever Horde Hauler deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token for each artifact they control. Now with Mishra Warform, you don't have to crew it, and you're swinging with a 4/4 Trampler. Just note, any amount of damage that tramples over, you get a treasure token. Not bad. The best part, you're swinging with a token copy of Horde Hauler, so therefore you're keeping the original alive and potentially out of harm's way. Not a Told Ship. I never knew this card existed until I did the research for this video. The Not Alloyed Ship will give your Mishra's Warform flying. Then it reads, when Not Alloyed Ship enters the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard. The next ability is, whenever Not Alloyed Ship deals combat damage to a player, you may put a creature card exiled with Not Alloyed Ship onto the battlefield under your control. Ooh, that is devastating. That's literally a exile target player's graveyard and reanimate. Surge Hacker Mech. The art on Surge Hacker Mech is awesome, so is its ability. It has Menace. Then it reads, when Surge Hacker Mech enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to twice the number of vehicles you control to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. With Mishra's Warform, you will get a 4/4 with Menace and Haste. Then since the original Surge Hacker Mech is on the battlefield, you can throw at least 4 damage to a specific creature or planeswalker because you have to include your Mishra's Warform. More vehicles you have, the more damage you can throw out there when it ETBs. Thundering Chariot. Straightforward artifact vehicle with first strike, trample, and haste. Mishra's Warform will have first strike, trample, and haste, which isn't bad if you want to put some kind of attack pressure on opponents. And then make another Mishra's Warform with the same stacked abilities, if it survives. Untethered Express. Continuing the Express train of artifact vehicles, the Untethered Express has trample, and whenever Untethered Express attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Using Mishra's Warform will be a 5/5 with trample when it attacks. Add an additional combat phase and you can possibly look at a 6/6. Weatherlight. A nostalgic artifact that has flying. It says whenever Weatherlight deals combat damage to a player, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a historic card from them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Remember, historic cards are artifacts, legendaries, and sagas. This card works perfect with Mishra because the build will mostly be artifacts in the 99. Now we have the 5 CMC and up. These are the artifacts that produce some monstrous value and can be looked into copying spells or additional triggers. So let's go. For 5 mana, Night Paladin, it gives Mishra's Warform trample. Then the Rapid Fire Battle Cannon deals 4 damage to each opponent. Now your Mishra's Warform is triggering that same ETB ability, allowing you to do 4 damage to each opponent if you copy it. Sky Sovereign Console, another flying vehicle that reads, whenever Sky Sovereign Console flagship enters the battlefield or attacks, it deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Clearly our theme here for the heavy CMC artifact vehicles is they do damage to either creatures, planeswalkers, or opponents. Reaver Titan, another card from Warhammer 40k. You have Reaver Titan that has protection from mana value 3 or less. Then whenever Reaver Titan attacks, it deals 5 damage to each opponent. Imagine on one turn if you have Mishra's Warform and Reaver Titan on the battlefield at the same time, but you attack with Reaver Titan and Mishra's Warform. You are sending 10 damage to each opponent just by the attack trigger. Thunderhawk Gunship. For 6 mana, you have Thunderhawk Gunship. It has flying. Then it reads, whenever Thunderhawk Gunship enters the battlefield, create 2/2 white Astartes warrior creature tokens with vigilance. When Thunderhawk Gunship attacks, attacking creatures you control gain flying till end of turn. This is great as Mishra's Warform and Thunderhawk Gunship on the field at the same time. You will create Mishra's Warform, a 4/4 flyer that creates 2/2 creature tokens with vigilance. Then when you attack with it, another attacking creatures gain flying. Ideally, if you make it around 1 additional turn after being casted, you can have 4 2/2s that are ready to attack with flying and vigilance. The power of just making bodies can overwhelm the board state and make you an enemy. I guarantee you that this card will make Mishra's the Eminent one a target 2 removal. Bonus! As I was researching, I came across Skyship Weatherlight. This card could be used as a tutor for 4 mana when it's copied on Mishra's Warform. For 4 mana, it reads, when Skyship Weatherlight enters the battlefield, search your library for any number of artifact or creature cards, exile them, and then shuffle. Tap 4 mana. Choose a card at random that was exiled with Skyship Weatherlight. Put the card into its owner's hand. Wisely, you would only choose 1 card when Mishra's Warform enters the battlefield. You don't want the Skyship Weatherlight exposed to removal and you lose that 1 card that's in exile. Or cards in exile. But you can tutor every combat phase, and when you're ready, put that 1 card into your hand at instant speed. Thank you for watching the content on Mishra's the Eminent One. Watch more content here and subscribe for EDH Commander gameplay and cards from the Brothers War.